Harry and Bridget Oppenheimer have been breeding thoroughbred racehorses at their Maritzfontein stud since 1945, when Harry became the United Party MP for the Kimberley constituency. Kimberley is, of course, where the De Beer Diamond Company was founded by Harry's father, Sir Ernest Oppenheimer. Maritzfontein stud was a remount post for the British Army during the Anglo-Boer War, and has now become a tranquil oasis in the harsh and arid landscape where the Oppenheimers made their home from home during the years of his parliamentary service. Ensuing decades have yielded rich rewards on the racetracks for the Oppenheimers, but ironically, only the Western Cape had not been a happy hunting ground, at least until the advent of the progeny of Fort Wood. Fort Wood, it has to be said, is the most outstanding in a long line of stallions who have stood at Maritzfontein, some extremely successful, but others sending the Oppenheimers' horse racing fortunes plummeting at a rate altogether unfamiliar to those of the vast Anglo-American corporation. The history of Maritzfontein stud is a documentary in itself. But suffice to say that the man charged with the responsibility of this wonderful nursery for South African champion racehorses is Gavin Schaefer. Schaefer is also accredited with the distinction of having found Horse Chestnut's father, Fort Wood, and being able to match the son of Sadler's Wells with the Colonel Pickering mare, London Wall. The product, Horse Chestnut, of course. It was, however, destiny that wood play such significant a role in the evolution of a champion racehorse like no other this country had ever seen.
The pedigree of Fort Wood speaks for itself. The mare, perhaps in her first dam, is slightly weak in retrospect, but you know, when you have excellence, and in the form of Fort Wood, when you get the looks that Horse Chestnut had, you were in for a good time.
In order to achieve greatness, a horse needs a trainer, not just any trainer. And this is where Michael de Kock takes his place in one of the most riveting accounts of horse racing excellence. The sequence of events, which eventually saw Horse Chestnut walk into de Kock's Reinkiesfontein training establishment, are to say the least amusing, if not amazing.
When our trainer Mike de Kock came to the farm, he actually described him as a mug's horse. And that was really because any mug could like him. And he was certainly the most balanced horse that we had that year.
When I referred to a mug's horse, I mean, he was not a hard horse to like. I mean, you didn't have to be a very good horseman or an expert or have an eagle eye to see that this looked like a serious racehorse. I mean, there have been horses that looked like they couldn't run either. I believe that these horses find you, that you don't find them. And I think, especially in my case, there's no doubt that it was destiny. He also used to look almost, you know, too good. You used to think, well, and he used to work so well, you think, well, you know, I've seen horses work well and don't reproduce. If this horse reproduces, then this will be the most sensational thing I've ever seen in my life.
Once in training, it quickly became apparent that his good looks, coupled with his exceptional pedigree, were matched only by his outstanding athletic ability. But as the day of his first race approached, it became evident that there was an unusual measure of pressure in the de Kock stable.
Very nervous. It was only a maiden juvenile plate, but, you know, it almost felt like it was the July.
Very, very anxious I was, and I think Mike was terribly anxious. In fact, the whole lot of us were.
You know, I think that day there was a lot at stake. It was important for the Oppenheimers, important for me, important for Fort Wood, very important for Gavin on the farm. He had put his reputation on the line.
Now, away they go. Between runners, Horse Chestnut, inside of that Gangman, Lonely Stranger, Desert Swarm, being followed by Naval Blue racing one off the outside. Then it's Ocean Trade behind those and Hardened Steel at the back. Race past the 600-meter marker. Horse Chestnut between runners, Naval Blue on the outside. Extreme outside, Ocean Trade. Then Gangman and Lonely Stranger being followed by Desert Swarm. Hardened Steel is outpaced. They've come down to the last 400 metres, and Horse Chestnut between runners. Grandstand side is Ocean Trade. They've been followed by Naval Blue and Gangman's insider runners. Come down to the 200, Horse Chestnut and Gangman's running on the outside, Ocean Trade. 100 to go, Horse Chestnut now starting to pull away. Horse Chestnut, the last 80 metres, going on strongly to win, going away. Horse Chestnut impressively.
For me, the important thing was to win. It was never about money or anything of the sort. It was about achieving and accomplishing. I don't think that the Oppenheimers are in racing for money. They bought a stallion, they put the money down. They wanted to see the horse achieve and succeed.
Next up was a trip to KwaZulu-Natal.
Change is as good as a holiday. It was important for him. I think in his maturing process that he has a bit of a change. I felt there's no use messing around in the novices and graduations and what have you with a horse like this. This horse, as I did with Golden Ord, must campaign. Win his maiden and go through the hand.